Welcome back to another episode of TimeOut with the SportsDr podcast, and we are live from Times Square, New York City. Wishing you a happy new year. What better place to bring in a new year than right here in New York City? Hopefully everyone's had a great holiday season, ready to get moving in 2025, but hopefully you'll take some time to reflect and enjoy family and all the things that were great in 2024. And then we'll get to work with trying to be better in 2025. Welcome back to another episode of Time Out with the Sports Doctor podcast, where life, sports, and medicine intersects. We are glad that you are part of this growing community where we strive to help you strengthen your mindset, help you grow your assets, and help you achieve whatever level of success that you want for your life. Go to our website at Dr.Derrick, thesportsdoctor.com, where you can find all the latest content, and you can also follow us on our social media channels. Now, let's get into this episode. So, on Time Out with the Sports Doctor, this is your final time out. So, listening to your story, you travel the world, you've done things, you've started your own practice, you've been in academics, you have a lot of experiences. So, you, I think, really know what the word health equity means, right? Because you've seen it, and you've seen impoverished in the United States, you've seen impoverished all over the world. What does it mean to you, or what do you think, what steps do we have to do to take to really have health equity in the United States?
Yeah. Honestly, if I can be very transparent, I don't feel sufficient with the health equity is sufficient. I feel like we need to move to a place where we are really focused on health justice. And what is the difference and what does that mean? So for me, health equity means that within what we have right now, how the structure is, then let's provide certain additional things for certain populations who aren't getting the same access, who aren't getting the same outcomes. However, what is the problem there is we don't think about why those differences exist. And health justice is really about going back and saying, why are these differences existing? And what do we need to do to eliminate those barriers? And a lot of times the problem with health justice is that it's deep work. So, and it's not healthcare focused. A lot of it is around residential segregation, right? A lot of it is around school differences or food deserts. And so I think that what my goal, or what I think that we really need to move forward around, is health justice. And it requires us as clinicians to step a little bit out of just seeing patients and really start to think about, in my community, when I see my patients, what are the things that they're facing at a population or community level? And how do I need to get involved? We've seen some physicians that are like, I need to get into politics. We've seen some physicians that are like, I need to work with food pantries. We've seen some, and that I think is where, when we start to break down silos and start to make sure healthcare emerges in criminal justice, in food and housing, that I think is where we'll start to really see not only good outcomes, but sustainable, really transformative change in our community.
I think that's excellent. So, like you're saying, seeing patients is not enough, right? Mm-hmm. The charge that we have is really to be able to take care of our community, not just say, hey, you have asthma, take this inhaler or take this antibiotic. If you're only doing that, you're not truly taking care of the whole individual. So on Time Out with the Sports Doctor, this is your final timeout. So we've discussed a lot of different kind of the entities and details around disability insurance, but just talk to the physician or the resident fellow, whoever, who is still on the fence about, is this the right time? Should I wait? I'm healthy right now. I probably can wait longer. Let's talk about why you really say now is the time.
So the goal here and the biggest concern that we have is making sure that you secure your good health now while you're young and healthy. If you're young and healthy, now is when you want to get something in place. And we can work with you. There are ways that we can work that's we can kind of get the lowest barrier to entry from a price perspective and make sure that the policy's placed, it's non-cancelable, they can never medically underwrite you again. Anything and everything that could potentially happen to you in the future is covered, and you have the ability to increase the benefit when you need to, when you're really making attending money, right? At the end of the day, that's what we're most concerned with. We're not as concerned with protecting your resident or fellow salary, right? That's not why we're doing this. We're doing this so that in the future, when you really do have that earning potential and you really do start to make a significant living, that we can protect that. So if we get the policy placed now, it guarantees you that any and everything is covered, even when you're making more money in the future.
Yeah, and you'll never be younger than you are today. And for most people, you won't be healthier than you are today. So I think that's kind of the take home point.
Exactly right.
Yes, sir.
Well, on Timeout with the Sports Doctor, this is your final timeout. So, beautiful story. I love your journey from athlete to entrepreneur, thriving through the pandemic. So just speak to an athlete or entrepreneur who might be discouraged by a setback and kind of talk through the process of winning by losing and how you just have to continue to take your L's and learn lessons from them and continue to grow.
I say my biggest thing, I say lessons and blessings, man. So those losses people talk about, I say lessons and blessings because we all go through them. I don't care what stage of life you're in. I don't care what you could be on Mount Rushmore. You still gonna go through the lessons and blessings. So it's just like an athlete. You come out, you have great days, you have bad days. It's part of it. So when that game is over, go back to that locker room, go to practice. Let's get back to the drawing board again. And that's life every day. Instead of trying to win and try, like say baseball, we're trying to hit home runs. Man, base hit win games. If you consistently get base hits, you can win a game.
And be
And
an
that was
MVP.
things yeah. And that's what I had to learn too. Like I was always swinging for the fences. I want the home run. I want the home run. And I had to have somebody in my ear like, man, like you okay? Like you're hitting base hits. What are you complaining about? Why are you not happy? And I think as an athlete, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And then when things go wrong, we get in that dark space, and sometimes it's hard to battle out of it. So and that's why I break life down to days. Man, every day is a game. So now life, I got a game every single day. So just win this game. If I can win today and then win tomorrow, I can end up winning the conference and end up winning the championship. But I can't just look at the whole thing. I got to win. And even then when I lose a game, I ain't lose the season. So I just think we gotta just bring that same mentality of sports into your everyday life. And then the entrepreneurship, it's gonna be it's gonna be dog days, up and down, and then it's not microwave success either. So we can't go into it and say, man, I'm a year in, I done put my money into this, I done tried this, it ain't working. Okay, cool. If it ain't working, you need to go to the drawing board. Why is it not working? Analyze the things that you may be doing wrong and change and fix those to try to get it right. But I think as former athletes, we have the advantage. You got the competitive drive, and you also have the relationships. Man, you got so many relationships that you've made over the time. And yeah, so I think, like you said, as former athletes, we also have the advantage of the connections that we make. Man, you play with so many different people and coaches, and everybody scatter out around the world. So it's like, hey, hey, Joe Blow, I'm over in LA now. I know you over here. This was space I'm in. You know anybody? So you're able to use those relationships. They don't
Collaboration.
work for me like a
Yeah.
lot, and I never thought like being on this end of it, like a guy I played with, his dad is running the hospital. It's just different stuff. So I think the relationships, but I think, like you said, as athletes, just bring the same desire and drive you bring to the business world. And when things don't go right, you didn't quit on the field or on the court. Okay, cool. Go back to get in your bag. Let's go back to
Yeah.
the drawing board. Figure out why it's not going right and go fix it. But I think you just got to and you got to accept the fact. I think the hardest part is people accepting the fact that you don't play sports no more. Like, I think that's the hardest thing. I've seen it with some of my teammates. Like, hey, I called, like, man, what's going on, man? Like, especially, like, the first 4 or 5 years after we finished playing, they're like,
Yeah.
man, it was rough. Like,
Yeah.
man, I never been in here before. Like, man, I ain't getting the same love I used to get. Yeah, because you're not playing no more. Them days
Yeah.
is over.
Nobody cheering you on, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody cheering you on. And I'm sorry, but we're gonna call a spade. A spade is you ain't doing for what you could do for people no more. Like
Mm.
people wanted to be around you because you was a top D1 athlete. You're not there no more. You didn't make it to the league. So guess what? The same people that used to blow your phone up, they're not. And then now
Wow.
you're not in a space that you used to be. So now you're uncomfortable. And now you don't even have all the people around you that you used to have. So now that's where that slope goes to. Now you're getting into that dark space of depression. I was never in that space, but I've seen some of my teammates be in that space because they're like, I've been a guy my whole life. I'm 22 years old, and now I went from here to now I feel like I'm here. Nobody want to hang out with me no more. You know, and my phone ain't ringing. I ain't making no money because I really didn't know what I thought I was gonna play in the league. So that was my focus. So it's a rough space, but the transition is finding yourself. And I was blessed with two parents that from high school, one day that ball, you're gonna put it down one day. Like, who are you without it? And I've heard that since high school. And it was always, who are you without it? You gotta find you. If you make it to the league, you make it. But if you don't, who are you and what are you gonna become? And I think that's what we gotta be able to discuss among the African American community and amongst the athletes. And that's why, like, now I try to like go talk to even people that's athletes now or former, just like, listen, I always wanted to be in the league, but now as a businessman, I want to own the team. Like that's the different mindset I have. Like, everybody want to be LeBron James, but it's somebody that pay him too.
Right.
So like that's where I want to be at in that space. So, and I also gotta just get out there that, you know, in our community, like, oh, you gotta be an athlete, you gotta be a rapper, you gotta be somewhere in that space. Man, it's doctors, lawyers, judges, dentists, engineering. It's a lot of things that you can make it. And if you're a hustler, like me, I always was a hustler. And then I brung this with it and I just put it together. And you could drive the vehicle however you want to do it. So there's more ways to do whatever you want to do. I just think we got to put it out there and stop putting the notion that sports is the only vehicle or rapping, and that ain't it. You gotta, you know, this is the best, the strongest muscle in your body if you truly use it right. So we got to start utilizing that muscle and utilizing. Okay, cool. Sports got me here, but now I got to utilize. I got to use it because that's what happened. Is sports uses us, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And we don't use it back. You need to use all the resources you got, all the connections you got, and the free education, and make sure you get it.
Yeah. And that's why the internet was trying to keep us off from this conversation, because this is what it's truly about. This is life, sports, and medicine. This is why this podcast is here, is real stories, real people to make a real impact and to tell other people what they're possible, what's possible out here. What can they achieve more than what they've seen, more than what their family has achieved, because it's people like you that are out there killing the game. And it's not because you started here, it's because of the work that you put in and just continuing to not give up when challenges, come in your path.
Thank you for continuing to support this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, then please leave a 5-star review. And if you haven't done so, subscribe so you continue to get the updated episodes. Until later, peace.
Hey, time out with the sports doctor. Keep our head right in the game. We ain't never stopping. You are now tuned in. Trust you don't want to miss. This is where life, sports, and medicine